Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ plus story for today. I'm Edward Otto Zelke, and let's queer up gay culture. Christian rock star Michael Tait accused by 8 men of sexual assault. Michael Tait, a giant in the world of Christian rock, is now facing disturbing allegations. Once the frontman of DC Talk and Newsboys, Tait has been accused by 8 men of sexual assault, up from the 6 previous reported. A new exposé by The Guardian brings forward 2 additional voices, one of them Jason Jones, founding manager of the band of Evanescence, claims he was assaulted by Tait in 1998 after being encouraged to drink and smoke marijuana with him. Jones alleges, quote, "I said no and pushed him off, but then somehow I passed out again. I woke back up and he was still doing it. I said no again. And he nodded, and then nodded out. And then I woke up a 3rd time, aggressively shouted, no, and pushed him harder. It was then that he left me alone." Another man, Randall Crawford, recalls visiting Tait after a breakup in 2000. After one drink, he says, quote, "I blacked out and woke up with my pants around my ankles and licking my anus." These stories followed a June investigation by the Roy's Report, which documented similar experiences from the 3 other men. And The Guardian's earlier report in June shared accounts from the 5 others, 3 alleging assault, 2 reporting inappropriate sexual behavior. In June, Tait released a statement titled "My Confession" on Instagram, saying, "Recent reports of my reckless and destructive behavior, including drug and alcohol abuse and sexual activity, are sadly largely true." He acknowledged touching men in an unwanted sexual way and said he stepped down from Newsboys in January 2025 to get help. Tait has yet to respond to these latest accusations. Well, it's really sad to see somebody in the LGBTQ plus community that has some sort of power and privilege over people and has misused his status to take advantage of people, and that's sad.
But was he really part of our community? I mean, he wasn't out. He was a Christian rocker. I doubt that he was out. Well, I mean, according to what I read, like, he had a girlfriend that all of a sudden became his wife, right? Oh. And I would only marry someone just like that, just so they can't testify against me, right? Yeah. Just, again, it's, it is not okay to get somebody drunk and drugged and then take advantage of them, okay? You can't give an honest testimony. You can't say yes or no when you're inebriated. And this gentleman was saying no over and over again. And I've heard this story from gay boys over and over again. And some of them going, well, it was my fault. No, it wasn't your fault. Now the lead singer of Evanescence, he's like, I understand it was my reckless behavior that did this. Okay. That still does not excuse this man from taking advantage of you by no reason. And having the Lord as his backup and as his, as his reason for not being able to do things like this, which again, are so true. And then he comes out and then puts it out on Instagram that way. Like, he literally put in his Instagram, I am ashamed of my life choices and actions and make no excuses for them. I will simply call it what God calls it, sin.
See, this is where I get pissed.
Take a breath, Jay, before you give your opinion.
This is where I get pissed. But especially for people in positions of power, and then people who also use religious power as, let's call it abuse. Let's call it what it is. There's a separation from being LGBTQ, having an identity and a sexuality, to being a predator. Like, I think people conflate the two, and it pisses me off. Like, people who prey on other people, it's not because they are gay. It's because they have a problem. It's because they have an illness. And this man clearly has an illness, and the Lord wasn't able to fix it. Clearly he needed a little bit something more than Jesus. Because alcohol abuse, drug abuse, and also sexual abuse. But yet you're getting on stage portraying yourself as something. You have a problem, sir. And it has nothing to do with the sin that the Lord, no, it has nothing to do with LGBTQ. This all has to do with a personal situation that he needs to heal from. And it's sad to see that 8 victims came out of this.
Eight
Yeah.
people are going to have the same
And there's probably
storyline. I
more.
mean, again, it's not a line.
And
you know
there's
what
probably
I mean?
more.
There's
Gil,
definitely more.
from your seat, what you think, baby?
What I'm thinking is, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I don't believe in giving sexual predators airtime of anything. The only thing that I'm going to say is that no means no, and we need to get better about consent in our society, and we also need to get better at highlighting bad behavior when it comes in front of us and making sure that we thoroughly condemn that behavior. So that's the comment that I'm going to leave.
You know, when people do horrible things, they always say, "Oh, I need to go get help," right? You know, as someone who attends 12-step meetings and has been sober for 10 years, I take fault. I don't like that. You know what I mean? I don't appreciate that. Well, you know, Sean P. Diddy Combs, I got to get help. You know what I mean? Everybody's, I need to get in a 12-step program. Honey, you might need more than that. You know what I mean? Like, if you are a pedophile or if you are someone that's literally sexually assaulting someone, because that's what you're doing, then like Jay said, you need more, you know? Eric, what do you think?
I just pray for the victims. I feel horrible for the 8 men. I'm sure there's more. I think you said it the best. No offense, everyone else. I think you said it best. You know, I mean, I would take the fact that he's LGBTQ plus out of the situation. I would take the fact that he's religious out of the situation. I would just say this is a horrible human being who has mental health issues that run way deeper than anything we can cover at this table. And I really just, I am not a victim, thank God above, I'm not a victim of sexual abuse, but I know that something like this will stick with those 8 people for the rest of their lives.
Of course.
And that is where my heart breaks.
Of course.
You know,
I mean,
not for this piece of shit. I don't care about him. You know?
No. But I mean, do you like feel the self-loathing from the story? I mean, again, him using religious means
he just
as
sounds
a
like
cover.
an addict to me.
You know what I mean?
You know, like addicts who don't want to seek help. He just said, like, when you're an addict, you find an excuse for everything, and it's never your problem. You know, it's never your fault.
And
so
you have to take
so he, you know, and he's gone through, you know, drugs, check, alcohol, check, gay predator, check. You know, it's almost like what's next, child pedophilia. I mean, it's horrible. So you know, this person,
Christian rocker, not a drag queen. Not a drag queen. Just a reminder. Just a reminder. Never a drag queen.
Yeah, never.
That is the big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.